All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our inaugural outing here of the Irreverent Warriors Fun Fridays Power Hour. Today is going to be a celebration of our dear friend, Mr. Mike Wilkie.
Wilkie,
man. So that's a big loss for the IW community and the world overall, my friend. Massive loss. And we're going to jump into that in a little bit, but we're going to start today's show kind of in the vein of what we hope most of these shows are going to be, and that's filling in the IW audience just on what's going on in Grunt style land and IW land combined. So
love it.
How has your week been this week, you?
Packed. We had an incredible Washington, D.C. night hike. And it was 335 attendees. It was covered by Stars and Stripes. They were tweeting about the event. It started out at the Jefferson Memorial, massive fireworks display at the beginning of our hike. Everybody had glowing, all different types. It's like all your tactical gear covered in just glowing, any glowing type of thing that you can imagine, you know? And
now, was that IW that produced that? Did they do that just for us? And who did the fireworks?
Oh, I don't know. It was at the Jefferson Memorial. So it was related to that.
Oh, okay. So we just kind of piggybacked onto that.
We piggybacked on that. There was a ton going on down there because there's these flowers called cherry blossoms that are on these trees. That I'm not super aware of them because I'm not from that area, but the trees were just like white and pink essentially. And the leaves were really silky feeling. It was, I didn't think when someone told me, oh, you got to see the cherry blossoms, I kind of rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
And then once I experienced it, I was like, oh, cool. All these trees are covered in flowers at the same time. But so that was going on. We went with 335 people. We went past all the monuments. We got special kind of just us time at all these different war memorials and all these monuments. So everybody was paying respect to their ancestors and paying respect to the sacrifices that have come before us. And I think the Vietnam Memorial, everybody in the element got perfectly silent. The entire park was perfectly silent. And we filed by very slowly by the Vietnam Memorial, paying our respects. And there was a lot of people crying, even though we didn't experience that war. There was a couple of guys in the element that were combat vets from Vietnam, but most of us hadn't experienced that war. But you could feel the heaviness and the sacrifice there.
Absolutely.
And it was really intense. We had it all to ourselves. The park service was fantastic. The Secret Service, when we went by the White House, was fantastic to us. It was really, really, really.
And that was all coordinated. So like the park service made permits, time just for you guys.
Yeah, we had to get permits for Kim, the leader of DC, and her team. She has an excellent IW team out there, leadership team. They had to get the permits and the clearance and work through all those different channels. And they're doing 2 hikes this year. So they're doing this one that was already happened, and then they're doing another one in September. So there's another opportunity.
That is amazing. Kudos to Kim.
Rock star.
That is something. Everybody, that's the bar. Reach that.
Yeah. I mean,
massive fireworks displays.
Puerto Rico had like 350, maybe 400 people this year. So we were really starting out the year with putting up some really big numbers.
Well, and I understand Puerto Rico is a pretty amazing hike all in its own. And you were just down there for that as well, weren't you?
Yes.
What was that like?
The energy there on that island. Of course, you're on an island, Puerto Rico, and then within the island of Puerto Rico, we're on San Juan, so we're on an island within an island, and hiking around that and going to all the old castles and the old forts. Puerto Rico changed hands so many different times throughout history before it became under the umbrella of the United States, and learning at each stop at the war memorials in Puerto Rico about the Puerto Ricans who fought in the Korean War, the Puerto Ricans that fought in World War I and World War II, folks that in some cases didn't even have citizenship and still volunteered and went and fought for this country and sacrificed so much and were so brave. One of the units, I think it's the 165th, but one of the infantry regiments from Puerto Rico was instrumental in winning several key battles in Korea.
Yeah,
and they were all Puerto Rican. So it was fantastic to learn about that heritage and learn about that history and be able to share that with everybody.
Yeah,
there was incredible healing. Puerto Rico is really underserved when you think about the U.S. veteran population here in St. Louis. you can turn the corner and bump into a veteran nonprofit that's trying to do something to help, right?
Sure.
In Puerto Rico, not the case. There is not a presence of veteran nonprofits down there. Is a massive opportunity for us to engage and try to help and fill that gap in care that we see that the VA isn't able to provide, which would be, you go to the VA, you've got the options of pharmaceuticals and talk therapy with a stranger, an expert in talk therapy. But that tribal piece, that tribal mentorship, that peer support piece just seems to be missing. And so that's that gap in care that we're able to fill specifically for people that are experiencing suicidal ideation and mental health, severe mental health struggles, despair, panic attack disorders.
A lot of folks from Puerto Rico in the military. Is that
tons?
What's the percentage? Any idea of what the percentage of veterans are down there?
Yes, it might be double what the average state is. I can't remember what the exact number is, but I know that living in Puerto Rico now, there's over 70,000 veterans. Audie, the leader in Puerto Rico, was telling me there's over 70,000 veterans on the island.
Wow,
which is a considerable amount. It's a very, very small island. I mean, you can drive around the entire thing in a matter of hours.
Yeah, I think there's like 137,000 veterans in Missouri, where we are. So
yeah, and it would take a day or two to drive around Missouri, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, to drive around the border.
Oh yeah,
maybe 2 days.
It's big. Yeah,
right.
You could fit a lot of Puerto Ricos inside Missouri. Totally. I'm sure. So that amount of population, that is population heavy. So
yes.
I guess no surprise they have a humdinger of an event down there. Well, congratulations, all the folks running that program too. The DC stuff sounds definitely heavy. When's the next hike out there?
September. I don't have the date in front of me, but it's September.
Man, we need to try to make it out to that.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they do an excellent job. That team out there.
This was a night hike too, right?
This was at night. This next one's going to be in the day.
Oh, okay. Yep. So, we have the foundation has a tradition there. Anytime we're in DC, we go down to the memorial. We go at night and we go down in front of the Lincoln Memorial.
Beautiful.
We spark a J and then we pay our respects to all of those folks on that wall. And that's always the heaviest of times. This year last time we were down there was for the Veterans of Foreign Wars conference when we went to the joint meeting of the HVAC and the SVAC, presenting the VFW's national priorities.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. That was just powerful as a partnership. The VFW is now our title sponsor for IW for the 2025
partnership.
And they are, we're really making some hay, man. Like all these topics that are coming up. I don't know. Did you watch the news this week with Doug Collins? He was on the Sean Ryan podcast end of last week, I believe it was.
I didn't see that podcast, but I know that he's been making the rounds.
Yeah, he's absolutely making the rounds. And I mean, down the line, I don't know if that dude's reading the content we're pushing out from the foundation side, but it's like he's hitting it damn near line for line on these priorities.
Yeah, hit them.
Yeah, so and we've just got an article we just posted on the blog yesterday, end of day, I think it was. We released that. But there is a bill that has just dropped yesterday at noon, which lays out this idea of there's going to be 5 centers of excellence that is going to be designated to research and provide care for our veterans using these alternative healing modalities. And the bill allows for MDMA, cannabis, ibogaine. Like if you can imagine that, that's the big gun.
Yeah.
5-MeO DMT, which we know is bufo, which is a toad venom that you smoke. There's also a pure molecule version of 5-MeO DMT, and NN DMT, which is what we find in like ayahuasca. So wow, times they are a changing.
Wow.
And
yeah.
I know
just from 1 year ago, that is just a complete 180.
Oh, for sure. And, within the IW community, it's if you're already privy to what these modalities are and kind of how they're utilized and what the results are, that's one thing, but it's so hard to put into words, even if you're just trying to explain to somebody what the experience is like. That's very difficult.
Ineffable. It's like the human language doesn't have all the descriptors needed to be able to describe it.
Right. And even if you're in the space or you're open to that modality, it's very hard to connect the dots in your mind. I'm a child of the 80s. I remember, and I grew up in the Ozark Mountains as a Southern Baptist. So, I thought, anything but grape juice at church was going to, be the fast track to hell. And dancing was not allowed, nor was playing cards and, all the other things that, again, I was in the 80s. They took our Duran Duran records and, we had a lecture on how Alice Cooper, who happens to be a minister, by the way, is the Antichrist. I mean, so I got all the front load on anxieties and hangups when it came time to engage my own healing. Those things that actually, ended up being, important in my life, had to get over that. And that was kind of a mind twist. So for people not, maybe they just have that level of exposure, like what I had growing up and much into my middle age years, even that's really taboo stuff. And
we've been taught that all these indigenous modalities are evil.
Yeah.
And we've been taught that pharmaceuticals that are made in a lab
or medicine
are safe.
Right.
It's like what's grown in nature and been used for 10,000 years is dangerous. And what was made in a lab that we don't have any full information on what the long-term consequences of any of it are, that's safe.
Right.
So it's like, it's
totally backwards, man. It's totally backwards.
I think, and I'm sure there's probably a meat in the middle, right? It's not one's evil and one's amazing.
Anything
right?
can be abused.
There's a meat. Yeah.
Anything
can
be abused.
Of course.
And we're certainly not advocating for people to do, any of these types of modalities in their home.
Yeah. Unsupervised, like just on your own, winging it.
It's serious stuff. And so now this bill that dropped yesterday, it has the endorsement of all of the major VSOs. So the VFW, the American Legion, the DAV, the Wounded Wonder Project. I mean, all of them, man.
Wow.
It's like the veterans community is coming together on this. And you weren't at the IW conference last year, but for maybe those folks that are listening here, it sounded probably like a madman talking when I addressed the conference, because we laid out this was going to be a priority. And there was a lot of pushback on that. Made a lot of people nervous. And there was definitely some scuttle inside of IW of what the hell are these guys doing? And now here we are just over a year later, and this bill is now on the floor. And where the Doug Collins part ties into that, this bill dropped after he was on the Sean Ryan show, right?
Okay.
So, in that conversation with Sean Ryan just hit him point blank. Like, hey, man, VA's garbage. I've got all these friends that are going there and they're getting more problems.
I got to watch that.
Than what it was fantastic.
They're getting more problems. They're leaving with more problems. Yeah, that is so true. I've never heard it said that way.
It is true. He tells a story of his friend, that, all these guys that he'd known, himself included, you're trying to get into the VA system. They're wanting to load you up on these psychotropics, all the problems that come from that. And then he contrasts that with anecdotal stories of friends of his that have gone south, as we say, to engage these plant medicines and just the remarkable healing that had occurred. And so, what was remarkable about the conversation was that Collins was acknowledging that over and over and over again. And usually when you're having these conversations,
they're on the defensive.
Or at least they try to phrase it, well, the VA
talk around it.
Such good stuff. Here's the things we did do and all these things, and, we're great. That wasn't what happened on that podcast. He acknowledged straight up, like, there's a lot of work to be done, and their hands are tied. He can't just wave a magic wand and make, these Schedule I narcotics something in there. Now, Kennedy and the HHS might be able to do something a little different with that. Yeah. But, independently, they need Congress. And so, boom, here this bill drops, and it is almost in perfect alignment with that.
Mike Wilkie dropped a video in 2022 criticizing the VA care that he'd experienced.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
And I mean, one of the most hard things to really to stomach and to really swallow about the death of this incredible human that touched us all is that he went into the VA, for a surgical procedure, and he ended up passing away from internal bleeding related to that procedure. So very, very hits IW. He is one of our top chapter leaders in IW. So it hits us right in the stomach. But he released a video. He put a video on Facebook in 2022 talking about VA care and about the inability for them to communicate between each other, and the inability for him to find providers that truly care about solving the problem.
Right.
It's just about getting you out of the office and checking a box is what he felt. That's what he talks about in the video. And it's hard to watch because, he knew what was happening on the inside, and he's trying to report it to people, and the U.S. population is just not taking action.
Yeah, it's like we're nose blind or something to that issue. I mean, if you're a veteran, you get it, but there's so much of that trust in the authority figure of our healthcare providers. I mean, I went down that path, man.
Yep.
I knew I was toxic. I did 12 by 15 months in Iraq at a nuclear compound that we blew up in 2003 on the Thunder Run. And I think maybe the Israelis had hit it once before that, but anyway, it was a big, giant compound. And, was highly, highly toxic. And when I came home, my friends started getting sick and dying, and I started getting neurological problems and cancer, and I had my own struggles. And so I knew what I was trying to deal with going into the VA, and they still wanted to put me on SSRIs and all these other things.
Right.
And I went down that road for a little while.
Right. So did I.
Right.
I've got the bag at home. I've got a giant bag filled with all the different meds that I've been prescribed over the years.
Yes. I mean, that's just so, man, it just pisses me off so much that's what ended up, kind of pushing that domino over in Mike's case. Cause, it's like you have to go through gatekeepers to access any kind of care beyond being shuffled over into this world of psychiatry. And, that's maybe helpful to a lot of people. It didn't line up with the path I needed to go down.
Sure.
But you have to kind of go through that in order to try to get into the actual healthcare system. If it's not something that's just, big, giant flashing neon signs saying here's an obvious problem and an obvious solution. He gets into anything complex medical. They're not real good at that. And they start looking for places to hand you off to. And often it just, giving you a prescription for pills is kind of the fastest way to do that. You get people ending up on some of these pills that are,
they have suicide warnings on the label of the pill.
Oh, yeah.
We're giving it to people that are in hopeless situations. I mean, that is a horrible combination.
Yeah. One of the major side effects is increased suicidal ideation. And then on top of that, you got other just horrific things. It's maybe worse than the suicidal ideation. Maybe it's what causes it more, the suicidal ideation. You get things like permanent sexual dysfunction. I mean, think about that. You're trying to take a pill for, regulate your mood, and all of a sudden your pecker don't work. I mean, that's rough. Of course, you're going to have some fallout from that. But at any rate, unfortunately, it's a pretty rough segue over to the topic of Mike, which is really where our main focus is going to be here today.
Yeah.
Why don't you handle that, man? We've got some folks lined up from across the country. We're going to be sharing some stories of Mike and sharing some time for Mike. Let's celebrate Mike.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we have anybody that wants to share a story, please jump on and let us know. Stacy's ready? Yep. All right. Yeah. Hey, Stacy, what's up? How's it going? I'm you, Mike. Hey, Stacy. How are you recovering? I know you don't feel great today.
I don't feel great. However, I will do anything for Mikey, include working through some pain. So it's all good. I'm really excited to be on today. Mike is really important to all of us across the globe. I kind of want to share my story because that's what Mike was good at.
Can you hear me? There's an echo.
My first hike with Mike, he was hiking with me, and I don't know if he was so confused at why I couldn't keep up or impressed with how many steps I was taking to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And he kept me comment about my short bit. So we were kind of a little bit faster, and I was like, my little legs need to keep up. You have to hold on. And so he was trying to half step, and he couldn't half step because he was getting cramps trying to half step to keep
I think we're having some technical difficulties, Stacy.
Sorry, Stacey,
we're going to have to pause you for a second there. I don't know. We've got probably an extra mic open. Maybe we mute our mics while she's talking there, David. And we apologize for all of our technical difficulties that we may experience today, because this is the first run out we're trying with this live stream from our new studio here in St. Louis, where we are today. It looks very nice, and we're very proud of it. So we're going to try to be making a lot of use of this space. We're just got to get our teeth a little sharper, and we're in the middle of a weird rainstorm. So we got all sorts of nerves and jitters that we're trying to work around. Let's mute ours feed there, David, if we can, and see if that doesn't clear that up for Stacy.
Yeah, sorry, Stacy. We're working on. Somehow you had an echo.
It's okay. Is it better now?
We're checking.
We don't hear the echo on our end.
Yeah, I don't hear any echo. I think that's coming through from the folks in. Check.
Yeah, I mean, my mic's muted, so it's not my mic.
All right. Janae, I know you're on there watching. If you could jump on and give us a thumbs up or something so we can tell. Stacy, you want to go ahead and just jump in again and see if that cleared that up?
Yeah. So when we were hiking, Mike started getting cramps trying to keep up with my steps because he had a half step everything, which gave him a lot of cramps in his calves. And so he was thoroughly impressed with how many steps I was trying to take to keep up with the actual element.
Yep.
So later, 2024 kind of hit a little bit hard in some areas. And every time I would need someone to kind of get in my butt a little bit, he would, hey, Miss Short Legs, don't make me come to death. Because he knew, like, to keep up with one step of his, I'd have to take 2 to 3. And he was good at motivating. He was good at quoting people. Hemingway was one of his favorites to quote to me.
Wow.
And one of his favorite that he shared with me often was, we are all broken. That's how the light gets in. And he'd remind me that every single time that something would break, it's more light that you get to absorb.
Yeah.
To be a part of healing somebody else.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is such a good Mike story, and that's exactly how he rolled all the time. You know, I was looking through his Facebook feed, going back years, and the amount of inspirational things that he would write, both from himself and quoting other people, was just phenomenal. Like, he was just so filled with love and light and positivity, and he shined that onto all of us and still does, you know? It's crazy that you bring up the Hemingway quotes, because when I was on a Florida hike last year, Jess and the folks from the Key West hike team, they actually ended their Silkies hike in Hemingway's home. And it wasn't until I was in Hemingway's home that I recognized that from the people that are in charge of keeping it nice, they told us that he was wounded in World War I and had a lot of psychological healing that he needed to do after World War I, when he took a direct hit from an artillery round and was completely covered in shrapnel. And I think that was where he wrote Farewell to Arms, or one of his famous books. But then he went into World War II as a combat correspondent and got a Bronze Star in World War II. So he was actually a 2-war vet that experienced combat up close. And he also ended up, unfortunately, taking his own life. And when we were explaining to the folks that work at the museum and at his home about what Irreverent Warriors is all about, they emphatically said that he would have been a member of Irreverent Warriors, because he loved to have fun. He loved to do things that were irreverent. He loved to buck the status quo. And that's what we're known for. So I love the fact that Mike Wilkie loves Hemingway, because Hemingway would have fit right in. They would have been 2 peas in a pod, and I hope they're hanging out right now.
I agree. And also, you know, Mike had his own quotes, and we love all the different Mikey quotes that we've been sharing this last week. But one of the things I keep drawing to, he would say, hugs and thanks for being you. He never wanted us to immolate him, but he wanted us to use our own brokenness and our own light to inspire others.
Right.
Just his joy for how we all are able to inspire others and help people was really his goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really, really, really well said. He wanted everyone to be their unique, authentic self. And I've never met anyone more unique and authentic and goofy, the goofiest dude in all of IW. He was the king goof. And that's why everybody loved him. I mean, he was always filled with authentic love. He had a childlike innocence, a childlike joy that he was able to bring through, you know, at the age of 50. And he was able to dance. I don't know if you all have seen, if you haven't seen Mike Wilkie's dance moves, they are phenomenal. And they are straight up 100% 90s rave dance moves. If you ever went to a rave in the 90s, or if you want to Google what a rave in the 90s was like, Mike had those dance moves nailed.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And does anybody know that IW, is anybody like long-term friends with Mike that's still around?
Is anybody long-term friends with Mike that's still around? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to know what he was.
But
I said I want to know what he was doing in the 90s.
Yeah, if anybody knows what Mike was doing in the 90s, I would love to know, because he obviously was doing some electronic dance music scene, doing some festivals.
Bill Wilkie just said in the comments, Mike used to practice in the garage.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Yes, absolutely. And Bill, I can't wait to meet you when we come up next week. Can't wait to meet you and to hang out, bud.
Hey, DJ Rico also just has a good quote here. It says, Mike was his best friend from high school, and they were daily fishing buddies. And yes, dancing and fishing. So
hell yeah. Hey, did you help him make any of the so Mike had sent me his SoundCloud like 6 months ago, and he made a bunch of EDM beats. And we actually have a friend, Svetlana, that's going to share. Svetlana is going to share the link to Mike's SoundCloud on Facebook. But Mike actually did a little bit of DJing and made some of his own electronic dance music. And some of it's kind of drum and bass, if you know what that is. And some of it is like hard house, trance house. And one of them is a little more psychedelic, but it's really, really cool that he used to make beats. He used to do so many different things. I mean, his voice is like the DJ voice. One of the things that he was going to do that he was thinking about doing was, as a part of the healing we're doing and the healing modalities that we're walking people through in IW, whether it's cold plunges, whether it's plant medicines, whether it's, meditation, hiking in nature. One of the things that he'd always talked about doing was doing meditations and using his voice to do guided recorded meditations for veterans, which I think could be really, really, really cool and powerful. So.
I love that, because Mike did have that voice. You know, so one of the things we were actually planning on doing at the conference is we are big giant fans of the 4 agreements, and I know Mike was working on an emotional support group using the 4 agreements as well. I mean, it's a big deal. Set of knowledge. It's old Toltec wisdom is what that book is. Yep. And we won't go much into that, maybe another time, but there's a lot of wisdom that you could distill out of that book. And we have broken those down into short little segments, like maybe 10, 15 minute, or I'm not minute, but 10, 15 second bites that we're going to make some short reels. And we were going to read them out at the conference. We still will. We're going to record those, and they're just going to be little nice short clips of daily whatevers. And what we had wanted to do was to have Tim and Mike Wilkie get into a DJ battle of sorts, because they both have such good radio voices naturally.
They do. And Mike, for those that don't know, Mike was going to present at the IW conference on April 24th. He was going to present on a couple of different books that he'd found that he wanted to share with the IW community. And he wanted to start an emotional support group, like a virtual bi-weekly, emotional support group for irreverent warriors. And he was taking the lead on that. And he was going to talk about that at conference. So for those out there that are interested, I want you to think about and feel into whether it makes sense for you to step up into without Mike, for us to put together an emotional support group, and for us to start doing that virtually for those of us that are dealing with a lot of emotional trauma.
Yeah, it's man, those are some big shoes to fill, man.
Massive, which is why I think we need more. That it's not just going to be one person. I think what we should do is have a group and truly lead by example and say, hey, we're going to have a bunch of veterans who, there's not one person that's the guru, but we're going to have a group of people that in Mike's honor are going to lead this emotional support group. And every week we're just going to talk through these books that Mike was into and talk about how we are implementing some of the tools in our lives to be more positive, to find more hope, to reconnect with childlike joy, and just to be able to say, here's what I'm facing in my life, whether it's panic attacks, whether it's, I'm going through a divorce, like whatever it is that you're currently going through or struggling with, being able to share that with a group of like-minded peers with no judgment. Yeah. And nobody's the guru and nobody's going to fix you, but everybody's there to listen and support. And then when you are in a better spot, somebody else needs support and you can help them.
Yeah.
And then that way, the pain you felt and the healing you found, you're able to share. And so it's a constant, just like in the military, you're pulling your buddy along and then you get exhausted and he pulls you along. Right. So that's kind of what Mike had envisioned. And I hate to see that go.
Yeah, because that's a large part of our entire strategy. IW does a wonderful job of preventing suicide through humor and camaraderie. And, it's a great first aid kit for a lot of people. And just being around the IW space for the last couple years now, I recognize its power. I see what it's doing. I see the impact that it's having. And that stuff is super important. But we're wanting to take the direction of the ship into more of a healing nature. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's exactly, Mike was involved in that. That was part of
Absolutely. Oh, he was so passionate about it. Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about IW is 10 years old, we started in 2015 and it started as an incredible party. And we would throw hikes that were parties, and the party and the point behind the party is we are a party of people that are coming together and getting to know each other and making new friends. And we're also talking about healing. What we're moving toward is more of where healing is the first focus. And then we're talking about healing and we're at a party. So the idea is healing takes center stage. And the reason for that is this. Since 2015, when the pandemic of suicides in the 1st Marine Division out in Camp Pendleton really started hitting its peak at that time, that's when this organization was stood up. And what did the guys know to do? They wanted to get together and have camaraderie and humor and lift spirits and bring people out of isolation. And that worked incredibly well for those folks. And it's interesting, since then, the suicide rate has not gotten better. The suicide rate continues to climb and the amount of deaths continue to climb. And that's why I feel like the whole community by W is starting to say, we need to primarily focus on these healing modalities and these different things that are going to help veterans heal and to educate people on what all is available other than pharmaceuticals and just talk therapy. There are a lot of other things that are able to help people heal. Psychologically and emotionally. And I think being able to focus there is the direction that IW seems to naturally be headed. When you look at all of our surveys and you look at all the intel and the data we've gathered for IW, it clearly shows a pattern that people are looking for more ways to heal outside of just traditional pharmaceuticals.
Right. Yeah, that's important stuff, man. And we need to double down on that. Mike was a super important part of that.
He believed in, firm believer in meditation, plant medicine.
The dude was a philosopher.
Absolutely.
And just the depth of his knowledge that he had gained through his own research.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike was really in the plant medicine space. I mean, we had talked a lot about it. I know he was definitely curious about it. I think he had a good understanding of it. But I was just really moved by just how much he had figured out just energetically on his own and whatever research he was doing. Like, that dude could talk and talk deep.
Absolutely. Anything final, Stacy, that you want to add? Sorry.
I know we were talking about the different modalities, and Mike was one of the regional coordinators for the Great Lakes Division with Robert Schwenk. And
Robert
is hosting its first integration retreat to look at those modalities this May. And we had all of Mike's support and Robert, and we're really excited for that opportunity to kind of continue everything he believed in to help support our veteran community as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. In May in Indiana, we are hosting a multi-day retreat for Grunt Style Foundation and Irreverent Warriors. And anybody that's interested, please reach out to Stacy or look on our pages, our Irreverent Warriors pages about that retreat. And for veterans, we are able to offer a scholarship if you're unable to pay. I believe it's $55 for a weekend long retreat, all meals included, dozens of healing modalities presented by practitioners from all over the United States.
Yeah, and thanks, Stacy, for joining us today. It's been a rough year. I know that you've had up there. We've had more than our share of death on it. I want to read a couple of our comments that have come in, and then we want to bring up Robert Schwenk to the stage. So
Robert.
His ears must have been burning. Thanks again, Stacy. It's so good to see you in real time.
Thank you so much.
First one here, I guess, is Svetlana has posted in our comments that if you go to soundcloud.com, you look for Mike Wilkie, and this one's spelled Mike-Wilkie /dream-sequence. If you can't see the comments, you can find some of Mike's music there on SoundCloud, and that's really cool. Some energy of Mike is still hanging out there in SoundCloud, getting down.
Fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what else we got here real quickly? We've got Sandra Markham says, Mike always made sure you knew that he loved you and that you mattered, and he made you family.
Absolutely. You could build trust faster with that dude than anyone. Yeah. He made you feel at home.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. So let's go ahead and let's bring up Robert. And if you want to mute Hughes and I's mic while he's talking, that might go a long way towards killing that echo that may be there.
Hey, good afternoon. So Mike, well, a lot of people got that fun, lovey, smiley Mike. I got the deep philosophical Mike. As most people in IW in this organization know, my son was murdered in October of 2023 in his barracks room. I'd already been talking with Mike quite a bit at that time, and we met in person at the conference for the first time last year, and I was struggling in grief. I didn't know how to work through grief at all. So I had made mention that I knew I needed to do some mental health work and was looking for somebody to do the work with me. And Mike was sitting there at that table, and he jumped right in. He said, "Let's go, let's do this." And that's how the book club was formed. Um, and like you said, Mike was an absolute wealth of knowledge through his own personal recovery and mental health work that it was daily communication between us and working through these things. Um, he was my rock through trying to grieve through my son, and now I'm struggling trying to figure out how to grieve through for the person who taught me how to grieve, that it was okay to grieve. um it's hard. I love him. I miss him. He was a wealth of knowledge every single day, sending a message, a goofy picture, or a picture of him out fishing, something just to check in and make sure I was doing okay. And I know he did the same for everybody he knew and everybody he loved. Just making sure that they knew they were loved. And I'm going to miss that.
Thank you very much, Robert. I know how close you two were, and I know that you two started the book club together around that Four Agreements book that you both like so much, and much respect and so much appreciation. I know how much he respected you and how much he appreciated you, we got to keep it moving forward, and I think you're going to play an important part in that if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, brother, man. That I think it's going to be very important work. I want to really throw as much of our effort as we can behind that. I mean, that is really the next evolution here of these roads, beachfronts we need to take and hold down.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you, my brother. And Rob, I know you've dealt with a lot, and this one's a big one too. And just keep strong and, lean on the IW community, man. There's a lot of people here that'll be happy to take those calls and talk through it. I know it's been a weird week for me because there's, God damn it, you keep commenting on all of some of Wilkie's old posts. And right when I feel like my feels are getting back into into a level place. There's a hell yeah comes out from Hugh on a Mike Wilkie post from 2021 or something like that. And it's been cool, and it's been a little emotional there all at the same time. But keep doing that. It's going to come a time where it's going to be more joy than it is sadness. And I think that's kind of the way of healing. Some of those tears turn into smiles.
We know that he would not want us to be sobbing. As much as we have to let our grief out of our body, we have to respect the process and we have to grieve him. But he wants us to dance, to laugh, to come together, to have a reunion. He wants us to celebrate his life. So I'm going to be very sad. I am very sad, but I am going to continue to try when I feel like it and I have any energy to do it. I am going to try to laugh and joke and be like Mike, which is, that's another thing that's probably good to let everyone know is Irreverent Warriors going forward annually is going to have a Be Like Mike award. And the Be Like Mike award will be given out at conference every year to the nominee who lives the most authentic, vulnerable, goofy, connecting with joy, pushing others out of their comfort zone and to work on themselves and to share their own struggles and their own personal process with everyone. Those are the criteria of being a true leader of emotional healing. And for those that are nominated, they will get a trophy. We're still working on that. We want it to be humorous, but we will be giving out a Be Like Mike award. It will be an annual IW award for the rest of Irreverent Warriors.
Yeah, man, that's special stuff. Another comment here from DJ Rico and Robert, man, thanks so much for showing up and sharing and spending some time celebrating Mike's life. And we're going to move over to Cody Williams here in just a second.
Love you guys.
Love you too, brother. Thanks for coming today. I want to read this comment from DJ Rico. There will be a free show after his service. All of his music will be played. Bought him his mic for the guided meditations. So
heck yes. Awesome. Yeah. I'll be there. I will be there. And if you have turntables, I'll bring some vinyl.
Yeah. So when are you heading up there?
Tuesday.
Okay.
And then coming back Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know. We'll see what the riding space looks like. I may roll up with you.
Yep. So Ed Eaton's flying up. He's flying up from Texas. He's like, I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world. So we're driving up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bring up Cody Williams to the stage.
Cody,
let's go ahead and mute us out there, David, and we'll give the floor over to Cody.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today? Whew. Man, what to say about Wilkie? I got introduced to him when I came on as LC. I got assigned a regional coordinator, and I had no clue what I was doing at the time. And I reached out to him. I said, I don't know if I can even do this. And next thing I know, I have daily phone calls, affirmations. I hear, hey, beautiful brother, all the damn time. And he just was such a wealth of positivity. He kept me going. When I wanted to quit that first year, coming down to the line, I wanted to quit. I didn't think I could do it, even the morning of the hike. And he was staying here at my house, and he saw the look on my face, and he pulled me aside and helped me calm my nerves down and helped me get through the hike. And he's the reason why I took a week off of social media and Facebook after the hike last year, because it was his recommendation to decompress. He knew if I saw all the after action reports immediately, it would just be a tremendous hit to me. And he's like, no, you need to take time, decompress. So I started applying Mike's philosophy to a lot of things in my life. Whenever work gets stressful, I think about what would Mike do? He'd put on that goofy white afro wig of his and go dance. It didn't matter if there was music or not. He would just dance in the middle of the street. I miss that guy. Yes, there it is. I think this Be Like Mike award's going to be a great thing for IW, Hugh.
I hope that it serves as an example. One of the things you tagged that popped up on my feed this week there, Hugh, was very sad. It was very, very, very startling video to watch. But Mike was in a low point, and he was looking at going in for like a 6-week intervention or treatment.
Yep.
And he was in a pretty sad place. And that was right before I had met him. I think 2023 was the first conference I had gone to, and I started getting to know people probably end of 22, but I hadn't met Mike yet at that point. So I never knew that Mike. I never knew the Mike that was really, really struggling. And watching that was jolting to me because it was so opposite of the Mike that I knew. And so, I mean,
the courage,
that is a testament in itself, man. And that is and I don't know what Mike's struggles were on the daily outside of the times that I saw him online and in person. But to me, it appeared that he was doing a tremendous job.
Oh
healing.
My gosh. Yeah. He that was probably, I mean, that was super low in 2022 when he posted that. And can we talk about the courage that it takes as a male to go online in 2022 and say that? I mean, he in that video he sobs and he says, "I'm struggling with despair and depression and self-love, and I have to go get help, and I want everybody to know that if you're in the same boat, it's okay, and that I'm going to go do this, and I want everyone to know." I mean, 99.9% of the population hides that from everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
And he had the courage to be that vulnerable to just allow people to make fun of him or whatever comments he would get. Like, he didn't care. He basically said, I'm coming out of the closet, and I've been dealing with despair and depression for 30 years. And I don't care who knows, but I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to take the next step. And it's uncomfortable. And, looking inward and going into that darkness and that shadow and unpacking it is going to be super uncomfortable and super difficult, but I'm going to do it because I want to be here.
Yeah,
and because of what he experienced with his father, who he loves so much. And I mean, the reason why he's so inspired to be a member of IW and to be a leader and a leader of leaders at IW was because of his father.
Yeah. And that's, I would challenge if you're an LC or even if you're a participant in IW, follow Mike's example. We've done as a community in the veteran community, we've done a wonderful job of saying, hey guys, it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to go and seek help. And I think we do that well. I think the whole community overall does that well. I think what we need to start putting that attention to again is like, let's get after the healing. Like we always say in the medicine space, there's two types of people. There are those that want to heal, and there are those that want to heal. Mm-hmm. And I think most all of us start out in the want to heal part of things.
But we don't want to go into the darkness, into the discomfort, into the difficult things we have to forgive ourselves and forgive others and look at that stuff.
That's right. And that needs to be our primary message, is the only way out is through. And we've got to, we're trying to bring the whole buffet line of modalities that we can do. That's the whole point of our triangular compass
anything that
program.
Helps people heal, right? Whether it's a
pottery or
no matter what,
riding a horse or whatever it is that you like, man.
Yeah.
It's let's get engaged in that. And, I'd really love to see IW make that a rallying cry and follow Mike's example.
Be like Mike.
And let's just get down to business and let's start being that example. I want to see IW be the crucible of people that are coming there looking for stability and for help and peace and all of those things. I want them to find it. I want them to have the resources to engage in their healing in a different way that may not be readily accessible for them in the day to day. We've got scholarships signed up to different things. We're going to continue to build those out. Our development team's going to be bringing all the guns to bear to try to make as many of these opportunities accessible as what we can. That's more wellness retreats. It's more events like what's happening over at Indiana that's coming up next month.
Yeah.
And it looks like Bill Wilkie's got to come in here. I want everyone to know that you won't be able to see it, but he'll be wearing silkies for the service, no pants, in honor of his irreverent warrior family.
Yes.
Thank you for loving him.
Bill, you're the man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Well,
that's awesome. All right.
So I think, man, we're about at the end of our time today.
Well, I know we're going to bring on Janae real quick, and
Okay.
then we're going to we have a memorial montage for Mike.
Yep. All right. Well, let's bring up Janae.
All right, this has been a great live. Echoing. Are you able to mute the grunt style mic? Are we echoing now? All right, this has been a great live. Thank you guys for covering this and for covering Mike's legacy. I saw a couple comments here I wanted to kind of point out. The first thing is my memory of Mike. I remember when I got up to the St. Louis hike, I was so nervous. I brought my 2 daughters with me, and I was nervous because this was my first time at that specific hike. I didn't really know anyone. And Mike immediately came over, welcomed my daughters, started dancing. A lot of those videos that you see of him dancing in the streets there at the St. Louis parade, that was Mike. He was out there just rallying people up for the entire hike that we did. He was center stage, hyping everyone up, getting them excited. And I also wanted to kind of point out, I saw Stacy's comment. She said, heal out loud. And healing out loud is actually, that's how you help others to heal. Because when we hide it and we try to kind of do it in the dark, not saying everybody should heal out loud, but that's what Mike did. All those inspirational comments that he was sharing on his page, sometimes we're worried about, I don't want to share that because I'm going through my own stuff and I feel like it would be disingenuous. But it was actually Mike healing out loud as he was sharing those motivational quotes. And now, look at us. We're all being reminded of him every day. He's still sending those messages to us today. Today, we get to see those messages and feel inspired. And it inspires us even more because we know how hard he worked to heal and how hard he works to bring positivity and joy to our community. So the legacy that he leaves, it's immeasurable. And we will forever be grateful for Mike, and he will forever live on. And I loved seeing that, Bill, I saw you said that he's going to be wearing silkies at his service, and beautiful, because I think that's exactly what he would want. And if we can all just get our cheese pulls out and be prepared to celebrate him with that, I think that these are the memories that he wanted to leave behind. He was intentional with his messages, and those memories are living on. And every time I see one of his posts come up, something inside of me moves. So I just wanted to get an opportunity to come on here and share that.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Janae. I agree with all of those things. So, Viva Mike.
Yes.
Let's
be like Mike.
Be like Mike and Viva Mike. Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe we, talk to Tim about getting a T-shirt made or something. Be like Mike. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But well, thank you everybody for joining us today. We are going to leave you with a short little tribute video montage of Mike Wilkie. Just want to say thank you, Mike, for all the joy and the love that you brought into this community and into our life. You will not be forgotten, and as long as we're around and this foundation, and with Mike's going to be a big part of it. So, David, take us out, man.
Come on, throw your hands up if you got the feeling. Jump up, touch the ceiling. Monks, let's up on floor. Someone's talking junk, yeah, I'll bust 'em